Y'all be cool. Hey, y'all be cool, all right? You will need a sketchbook. Pieces of paper sketchbook. Oh my goodness. Little traps, little traps you set for yourself. Throughout your life, my friends, you will find times when you set little traps for yourself. And you know you might be setting them up a little bit and you're going to fall into them. Just be careful. Don't make them harsh. Thanks, Leroy. Yes, you would be the person I would come to about any PC setup or something. Like, honestly, I wouldn't mind setting up. I've been doing a lot of streaming and other things, like have my work computer set up as Mac still, but then have my stream and 3D printer and laser cutter computer be a PC. So I'm looking into it. Maybe at some point we'll talk. What do people say? Write me a letter and mail it. I think that's what people say nowadays. You're going to need your paper. You're going to need your pencils. I don't know if you have any of these Level Up with Louie pencils yet, or this camouflage pencil. I don't know if you got them in the mail yet. If not, just use any regular pencil you have around. You might have a pen, a ballpoint pen. And then for me, I use some of these micron pens, but I'm just ordering some new pens. Looking for, Roy. I'm looking for, when you start to draw more and you get into drawing and inking, like almost any pencil is going to be the same. There are different hard and soft pencils and charcoal. Not a broad brush there, huh? But a pencil will, depending on the type and size of pencil, you'll get a different line. Same thing with pens and ink pens and different things like that. You will get different lines. Good. Thank you for showing. No, forget it. I'm glad you showed me you have your supplies. Thank you. It's appreciated. I see you. The different pens will have different lines, not just thickness, not just the thickness of a line, but depending on what type of nib is in that pen, whether you have something that is thicker like that, you see that one going on? Check out this this is one of my favorite ones, this graphic one. I'm trying to get it in the negative space there so you can see the tip. But there is also, do I have it here? Do I have it here? Yes, a brush. Look at this. That's different too. Everyone has a different length and a different shape, and that gives you a different control. I have been looking for a pen that gives me a little bit of a thicker line to thinner as I kind of brush it along. My brush wasn't quite working, but I went somewhere. I went up to my nephew's place. They had some paint pens. I used that. It had what I was looking for as far as the way the ink laid out on the page with the stroke. So I'm going to order some of those. And then here's another thing. Another way I find fun pens to use while drawing. Sometimes people on Instagram and on Facebook will, even like I do, I'm showing you my pen. People who do good drawings will sometimes lay down their pen on the page and take a cool picture of it. So I have looked at some of those pictures and then tried to research and find what pen they are using. Then I go look that up. So I'm trying to learn more about pens. It doesn't matter in the beginning when you're drawing. What pen, what pencil you use, as long as you have something that can mark on the paper, you're good to go. But as you get advanced, and I don't think I'm advanced, I think I am intermediate to okay with some of this. That's where I'm at. I'm looking for new techniques, new pens and stuff, because once you start to learn, you realize what a good pen is, or what type of stroke you want and stuff. So just like in the beginning when you play guitar, any guitar is going to be okay, pretty much. Learn to play guitar. But as you get better, you will hear and you will feel what it means to have a better instrument, but you can only realize that after spending some time in the endeavor. Right? Makes sense a little bit? Great. So we have a piece of paper down here, and you notice some of the things aren't here. My apologies. You'll notice I have this box right here. That is a box of a hard drive. I cannot emphasize enough, my good friends, the importance of backing up your computers. Okay? Always have a separate hard drive. My theory is, and we're doing analog stuff here, but a lot of you use computers. Get a drive that becomes your backup drive and back up to it all year long. And at the end of the year, I know it's $100 for this drive. At the end of the year, label that drive and tuck it away and start over on another drive. Data, and then put that somewhere else. And if you could possibly, like, you go visit your parents, be like, hey, I'm going to leave this hard drive here. It doesn't matter. Like, data is, if you have a lot of important data, back it up. Save often. Yes, save often. When I'm working on projects, almost every day I get into a new project. Like, I've been working on some LittlEmpire stuff. Almost every day or every major iteration of that project, I will do a different name save. Like, it'll be Baba Yaga's Hut 01, Baba Yaga's Hut 02, so even, like, I'm not only backing this up on an external hard drive, I am making versions of this project. So if for some reason I get down into this project and I'm like, you know what, there was that one thing I drew a little while ago that would have worked, but I erased it. You can go back to one of your iterations and pull it back in. Tips for the hits. Backups, that's right. That's right. We've all learned the hard way, huh? I've learned the hard way. I used to work at an art department at a place called Raymond Getty's, which is a school supply company. And I was responsible I did IT, and I did the installation of, I was like the art department IT person, and also I ran backup tapes for the whole company. A couple times things went wrong, and you hang your head in shame when you haven't backed up. I don't want you to hang your head. I don't want you to have the shame. Let's get started with the classics, huh? We got circles, circles within circles. It's a target, pretty much. You have your pattern. We always have a sip of water nearby. Cheers to you, good friends. To friends, to good people. I mean, it's just water, but you can cheers with water. Patterns, lines. Again, this is all your doodle magic. And as we start to get into these sessions and into these classes, I'm going to just start doodling how I would naturally doodle. I've given you some pieces, but I have things to build and things to make, my friends. One thing I want to build is, so say my drawing piece of paper is here. That's my sketchbook, all right? Imagine that's my sketchbook right there. Has a binder on that side. There's my sketchbook. I want to build with my laser cutter. I'm looking down. We're going back to the days of me looking down here for reading the stuff. No, you don't want to rewrite anything. No, yes, or redraw a project. Exactly. Red Rose is dead. Welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome to a Friday Level Up with Louie drawing class. Normally this is Wednesdays. I was out of town for a minute, which is good. Good for the soul. Great time. Came back. That's why we're doing this Friday. Sometimes I don't know. Yeah, my tablet was making sounds of me. So in the distance I was hearing, look at this. This is going to freak you out. What's going to happen here? It's like looking a mirror inside of a mirror. Whoa. I hear my own voice coming out of this tablet. And I apologize for my timbre. All right, here's something I want to make. So look, here I am using sketching to get an idea out onto paper. Inception, exactly, yeah. You'll feel that kick. And then we're in your dreams. I want to make this, like right now in my studio, you see a light over here. You see the camera over here. I have multiple other lights in different places to add some light to this. But what I want to build, and use the laser cutter to build this, is this device, like these wooden, imagine these are pieces of 2D wood. Pieces of wood that kind of have an angle to them. They're kind of like, they look like little, like this is a piece of wood, right? So here we are, pieces of wood. They have this angle to them. And then there is a top piece on top of them. I'm using almost perspective here as I'm drawing this, you can see. I shouldn't have gone that far off to the side, but mirror. Using a little bit of perspective to show you what I'm... So this piece here is sitting on top of these little bracers holding up. And under here, I bought an LED light strip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that LED light strip, I'm going to cut these pieces out of wood, I'm going to design it and measure it to go around my sketchbook and put that LED light strip inside of that, it's almost like a balcony I built of 6 inches to 8 inches above the sketchbook. So it's going to have this light that just goes all around the sketchbook. So hopefully this whole thing will be lit up the right way. Look at that. Anyway, lighting's amazing. Look at this. Like, so I'm going to try to build something to make better lighting. So, a lot of times when I was growing up in my sketching style, like, look at this light coming in the window. You can almost turn that into sketches. Look at those fun sketches. Look how they're lit up with that light. Make them 3D, having a little perspective line, coming back. Right, remember when we did some 3D? Look at me just doing this block letter by hand out of nowhere. That's an A, my friends. Sketch it up. Get that pencil going. Play around. Let your imagination jump. Don't be stuck. Jump around with it. Like, that's the idea of getting warmed up. You go where your mind takes you. You have a little bit of fun. We've done some of this before. Some patterns, some lines. A perspective line with our horizon, and then these come back to meet on that horizon dot. We're messing around. This has that perspective. Get some curves. We love curves here at Level Up with Louie. We love curves and then making shapes out of them. We love circles within circles. We like working on squares, rectangles, triangles. How many wonderful things can you make with a, yeah, so I do have a, Red Rose is Dead. I have a perspective lesson I did a couple lessons ago. It's up on YouTube, I think. If not, it will be in the next few days, because that's the next one in the line. Who doesn't love curves, right? Who doesn't love curves? I'm a big line man myself. Like, I love line and form. I really enjoy seeing that. Like, for me, line and form is the sexiness of art more than color and depth are. We all have, like, something that draws us, line and form, and how they flow and move together. It's important to me in art. So I tend to go for that. We all have our different things that we like. Shape and color, exactly. Like, everybody has, just like we have a different flavor of food, but we all can relate to each other in that we enjoy art. Huh? Come on. Come on, people now. Art on each other. Everybody lend a hand. I think last episode we were singing a little bit too. And by we, I mean me. Yes, it is so amazing. It's amazing that you can lay out some lines with perspective and then chunk in some pieces, and then it looks like a thing. A real thing. Today, when we get to our drawing, when we get to actually drawing, the idea of what we're getting into today, and again, while I'm talking and hanging out with you, make sure you're drinking a sip of water. Make sure you're doodling and sketching, remembering a lesson from a couple weeks ago and just like, oh, I'll do a head and eyes and a mouth and some horns and some ears. You're just doodling along and you figure out the eyes and stuff. Doodle around, doodle around. Get those doodles going, my friends. Emphasis, wow. Yeah. Elements are good. Geeky Bear asking the serious questions. What's my favorite principle of design? And I might know some of these. I took some art classes in college. I was headed into making video games for a living is what I wanted to do, but I diverged from that, obviously, and been juggled for a living. But hey, there's still time. Negative space is always interesting to me. Or the negative space is, like here, this is negative space. I'm circling it. This space inside of here, I'm going to fill it in dark. This negative space I'm seeing, which is interesting. Because it comes up, it has a shape unto itself. I'm going to outline this negative space. This filled in area is the negative space, but now it's brought up with emphasis. Look at me, using all the techniques. I don't know if I'm reading you totally correctly, Geek Bear, but I am emphasizing this part by this thicker outline. Brings emphasis to this negative space. Negative space is the spaces that are not your main image. And it's not negative as in detracting, it's negative as not your main image. And once you get into layers and stuff, negative space starts to disappear and blend away. Yes, it does cause emphasis. Thank you, Geeky Bear. Today we're going to talk a little bit about composition. So there we go. That's another art technique and another art action is the idea of composition. And my latest favorite technique of filling an area is the crosshatch, I would guess. Yes. And I am somewhat new to making this pattern, but I've been practicing because I've been using it a lot in Dungeons and Dragons maps. This is a great fill pattern. I learned it when I was in high school. I saw a guy doing comic books, like just indie comic books in my art class, and he showed me this. And it kind of stuck with me, and then I've seen it. There's a great map maker called Dyson Logos. Amazing map maker. I at least, my flavor and taste, I think he's amazing. Yeah, smudging. Yeah. Can't really smudge. Again, the different types of pencils allow different types of smudges. Composition. I enjoy the derailing. I hope you guys are okay with it all too. Like as things come up in the chat during this doodle and get going time, let's discuss some of those things. Let's get into it. All this adds into what you are learning as an artist and the tools. Keep adding the tools, keep practicing the tools. Paradiddle, baby, paradiddle, baby, paradiddle, baby. Yeah, right? Composition. I have a piece of paper here. Composition, when you're talking about what's going on to the page, a lot of times recently we have been drawing just one thing in the blank space of the page. We've been drawing a chest or a cart or a monster or a creature. The most we've done with composition, the closest that we've gotten in a way so far is we've done some dungeon maps where that used more of the page. But the idea is, I smile at your guys' chat. You amuse me. Thank you. The idea with composition is how do you lay out multiple elements? It could be one element, but today we're going to talk multiple elements on a page to make it interesting and dynamic. And you will be using negative space, some positive space. Like you'll be creating what we're going to do today. What I'm going to try to draw, and I didn't even practice this one. I'm going to try to draw a composition which has multiple elements in depth in a space to fill the page. I'm actually going to section off a page that's visible to you. If I was filling this whole page of paper, it would be slightly different, but movement like this composition, this movement might be part of that a little bit. The idea of composition. You might have a foreground element. And these are just very, very simple, but I'm heading in the direction I want to go a little bit. Some foreground elements. And then you have a mid thing going on. And then you have a background. But look at this. Look how I filled this page. Nothing is equal to or greater than a math joke. There we go. There's a little classic LB love right there. Movement in a piece. Yes, yes, yes. Composition can help you get that movement in a piece, and it isn't just somebody jumping. No. Movement And again, my favorite world sometimes is line and stuff. You can make movement with line, like the way you have a still line, straight up and down, not a lot of movement. All of a sudden, you do something like this, and you have a moving river. So, in a way, things we're talking about. Thank you for holding that torch. Yeah, we got to hold this torch. Sorry, some of you have to teach teenagers. I mean, honestly, thank you for teaching teenagers. All of you on here, I would love to teach any people in the world. You're all good people. So any wisdom you can share to make other good people like yourselves, I appreciate it. I don't want to live in a world of not good people. I would rather live in a world of a lot of good people. So I'm glad you're here with me. I'm going to flip the page. Obviously, we made a lot of noise on this one. You get the idea of what composition is, how you fill that page. You can think of like a comic book page. The artist going into that comic book page is compositing those pieces together to make a fun page. Not just the panels and how those panels work, but also how the art sits inside of that panel. Is somebody close to you? Is somebody far away? Is there lines of action coming in? Or is everybody's head turned a certain way that then throws the viewer to look at something a certain way? It's all very interesting. And this starts to get complicated, but that doesn't mean it has to become hard. It'll become easier. A complicated thing can still become easy. Flipping the piece of paper. There's my notebook. There's my notebook, friends. A real live notebook. Look, there's a page I tore out one day. I'm going to flip that over like that, all the way to the back. Wow. Mildly interesting. Let me mark out a couple points here, just so I can see I'm on the page still. All right. I got some ideas there. Found my ruler finally, everybody. I know you're pretty happy about that. We're going to try to do just a couple lines to make it so you can see this page I'm going to make. I'm just making this a little smaller, and it's going to be a little crooked to me right here, but to you in that camera, it looks straight. Like I don't have my camera directly above the page, so I have to adjust my lines because the camera operates in perspective. To you, that looks pretty squared up. But to me, it's a rhombus with this end being lower than those other corners because of perspective. And I had to draw the lines in off perspective to the reality of the paper to get them to show up in the proper perspective for this camera that's at an angle. Pretty amazing, huh? Let your brain sink in on that. Rulers are just tricky. And this one is clear, so it hides around like a jellyfish in the ocean. T-shirt. Look for that T-shirt. Like a jellyfish in the ocean. The idea of composition, of getting something onto the page. And I'm sorry, we won't be doing the viewer art today. Because again, I had to jump in with an older stream software, and I couldn't bring over everything. I was just like, I got to bring over the essentials. So here we are. I've had a scene in my head for a couple moments about a band of goblins up on a hill in the woods, looking down on a campfire of some adventurers, maybe. And then in the distance, there's woods, and maybe beyond that, mountains. Like when I'm drawing this for you, I'm going to be learning it a little bit too. Like, part of me doing these lessons and classes is I want to get better at drawing. And so now that we're like 10 episodes in at this point, we've got a lot of little bits and pieces. It's been really a lot of fun, but now I'm going to be pushing, for even more fun, pushing myself into areas I'm not used to. Full Bob Ross today. Yeah, it's a little bit, like, right? Bob Ross, great at composition. Bob Ross could lay out the mountains and lay out the stream and lay out the little lake. And then he throws a tree in over here and a tree in over here and just some branches over here. And his whole canvas has an inviting feel, a natural feel because of composition. It's harder than it looks. Those goblins did probably come from a tin. Speaking of goblin tins, if you want to pick up a Little Empire goblin tin, head on over to LittlEmpire.com. I also have an Etsy store up. I'm starting to Etsy too. I brought everything over. Look, here's my secret though. The prices are a little higher on Etsy, but I give free shipping. I've had to balance this out some. Etsy wants free shipping, so I'm going to make that happen. Back to the drawing. What I'm going to have is the foreground, and I'm just doing a very light line here to kind of make what I think of as the top of the hill and a foreground line. Like, that's not the hill. That is where the shapes of the foreground are going to live, a very light line. And then like I did in that little drawing, I can picture almost a clearing way down here in the distance. And that's little, like there's little people in there. But up here, okay, and then we have trees, like they're in a forest. There's some where tree trunks might be. And what I'm doing is I'm laying out the composition in a very, very simple way right now. So this is like the top of the tree line. These people on the hill are looking down into this clearing, but here's trees. But beyond the top of this tree line, which kind of fades off into the distance, those are two perspective-ish lines. Boom, boom. Top of the tree line. Beyond that are some mountains. And then there might be like a moon rising. I'm just going to do a crescent moon because they're cool. That's very light. I'm sorry that's very light to see right there. But you get an idea. Foreground area, middle ground area, background area. This is the whole canvas. This is the whole page to the edges. You go to art school, that your teacher's going to ask you to go to the edges. Not everything you draw needs to be centered in this center with all this. You like how I scrunched up a little to be center? And then all this white space, negative space around it. No, like sometimes obviously that's what you want. That's a composition, that's a drawing, but we're talking about filling a page and what that looks like. Two wizards fighting in a circle of death. Yeah, I'm glad you had to mute the video because it's weird that that's exactly what it is. That's the fighting circle. They're just buddies. They're adventuring buddies. They don't know these goblins are on a hill. Louis? What do you mean goblins on a hill? I don't see any goblins on a hill. What sort of nonsense are you talking today? Doodle, lay out your page. Hang out. Glad you're here. It's an hour-long hangout class, but we're drawing and we're learning. And I'm talking to you and I'm wasting some of your time, but hopefully I'm distracting you a little bit from the reality of the world so you can let go and focus down here and be with me drawing. You got it. Yeah, D&D. It's all D&D here at Level Up with Louie. Not all, but a lot of D&D here at Level Up with Louie. That's what I like drawing. And those are the themes I like. But we'll do some space stuff. We'll do some sci-fi stuff. We'll do just life drawings too. We're gonna do everything. Tell me what you want to see. Goblins, right? So I picture some goblins up here on a hill looking down here. So I'm going to do what I think, like this is going to be the back of their heads. There's a head there. Here's a goblin head. Goblin head. Here, I'm going to come in. This is, again, the foreground with some tree branches. This is the foreground. We've talked about depth before. You draw the thing in front of you, or closest to you as far as the drawing. Like, you see all of the pencil's lines, but part of the pen's lines disappear behind it. So I'm drawing the thing that's closest to the camera first, closest to our eyes. We got some tree branch. It's alright. That's not my best tree branch, but that'll do. We have a tree branch up here, coming in from this other side. It's fall. It's a little bit fall. It's going to cover up those mountains a little. We'll see what we can do. And we have 3 goblins looking down at this camp. This is the back of their heads, but I feel like this is a 3/4 view, so we can almost see the nose of this goblin here. And we can have these goblin ears kind of coming back, pointy ears, goblin ears, goblin ears. These 2 goblins were totally behind their head a little bit, so this one is going to have some sort of helmet on, with little studs on it. The ears. Do goblins have hair? That's a good question. Yes, a Level Up with Louie D&D group. Yes, we can do that. I recently tried to do D&D nights. I just couldn't. I'm involved in another D&D group. I have LittlEmpire and then Level Up with Louie going on, and I'm trying to get some other businesses and things going. It's crazy times for us entertainers. I'm trying to get a couple irons in the fire. So it's hard to fill the time, but we'll talk D&D at some point. We'll talk D&D. Okay, so this guy will have a spiky hair as in like a mohawk. That's coming around the back of the head, the side of the ear a little bit. I'm just sketching in a little bit because angles and perspectives like this is not my strong suit, friends. Not my strong suit, but we're going to do it. We're going to try. We're going to try. Louie has to get better at this stuff too. We all have to practice together. The goblins, not happy with that guy. It looks too much like a human punk face. But that's all right. We're learning composition a little bit today. Arm is up like on this tree maybe. Body's down here, body's down here, body's down here, off the page. This guy has some tight curls for hair, this little goblin. Just filling them in a little bit. I guess pen would be the way to do this, really. But I'm just defining them a little bit. Defining a little bit. Maybe one of these guys has a sword on them. These aren't my best drawings, my best goblins, but I'm just laying out some pieces here to see if I can compose a scene. Yes, I think a lot of people here play D&D and already DM. It's fun. I love DMing. I love playing all the actions of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm pretty much into. This guy has a cloak on. Again, like my drawings aren't going to be the best. Whatever, they're fine. Louie, you're doing fine. Don't get down on yourself, man. You know what you're doing. Just draw. This one has a halberd that it's kind of holding. And they're looking down, so we can see the edge of this. Behind them, we kind of see the edge of that mountain. There might be a tree here coming up to this branch. And I'm just going back a little darker and darkening in these lines as it kind of comes to me a little bit. Rest of the head is shaved. It's got a goblin earring. Wanted to make like a freaky goblin chin. Some good goblin eyes. A goblin nose, kind of crookedy. Almost a witch nose. Who's to say what that creature is? I like him though. Thank you. I am doing fine. Adventuring's fun. In the realm of Dungeons and Dragons. There was a great 80s cartoon. I'm just going to draw a little bit here and see where it goes. Called Dungeons and Dragons. Go figure. These guys down here, 80s cartoon, Dungeons and Dragons. Great, great cartoon. They have a wagon. We drew a wagon a couple issues ago. Call it issues or call it episodes. We do a wagon from multiple perspectives. I'm using kind of the side perspective there to just drop a little wagon in there. Maybe they have a little campfire going. Got some sticks in there and then some flames coming up. It's a big campfire for them. And then yes, there's a couple wizards. We'll give them some wizard hats. They're hanging out. They're not dueling. I mean, they could be dueling, but for fun. They're not against each other. They're just trading some magic missile and some cantrips back and forth. It's kind of just practice. And then behind them, into the darkness, so there's firelight coming up all here. So almost, it's lit up like this. There's light all around. Light coming out this way. So these trees here will have some light on them. I'm just going to do kind of like tree trunks. And these trees start to get branches up here. And then they get some foliage. Some branches, some foliage. So there's some trees coming around this way, some too. There's a tree off to the side over there. And then here there's a couple bushes maybe and a rock right there. Some rocks over here. They found a little clearing that's been used before for campsites, and that's why these goblins are staked out there to keep an eye on things. That would be fun. That would be a fun adventure. It would be a fun thing to draw things like that. And then run an adventure based on some of our drawings from the past and recently. I kind of like this idea of he's wearing a cloak. You can almost see a cloak sitting on the shoulder with a little clasp off to one side. Again, would all have to be refined in different layers, but these goblins are looking down over there. Another branch here. Foreground branch. Pardon me, I just burped. I don't know if you heard that, but you know, like a live streamer shouldn't burp. Like I should spend an hour before this whole drawing class and just get my burps out. Save those spell guys. Right? How dare I be human? Well, being human. It's a beautiful thing. Frustrating sometimes. Sometimes I think about the lions on the savannah who just spend the day. They're pretty much apex predators. There's not much messing with them except for us. They spend the day hunting some food, running around, sitting on a warm rock and just looking. Interesting choice, lions. Pretty good. I think you did great. All right, as this is going back, this foliage is going back into the distance. These are all tops of trees in the distance. And again, I'm going kind of quick here. I'm roughing in a sketch. I'm roughing in an idea. And if you wanted to later, you could take this into a computer program and redo it. You could take this, you could almost put a piece of paper over top of it and make better lines and make some better choices in your drawing. But right now I'm just doing what could be like the treetops way in the distance. And then as they get closer, we see the different treetops. I'm just doing some wavy lines that almost look like a foliage. 1, 2, 3. I'm going quick. Even if I'm going quick, I should go good. You know, why not try to make it all right here? I'm not trying to make the worst drawing. I'm trying to make a medium level drawing, friends. Arm is up this way maybe somehow, or just the arms are tucked down here, and this pole's coming down, the halberd. Thickening that line up a little bit. Halberd is just a long stick with a pointy part on the end. Defining with these dark lines. Emphasis again. Emphasis. Darker lines. Darkening the lines. Mohawk. Ear, mohawk. Ear. Eyes. Ears. Darkening these lines. This is the closest thing to us. This is the top of the ridge here. Another guy here. Maybe he has something bladey and axy or something going on. Hanging on to his shoulder. He also has a goblin cloak. Other ear over on that side. Woods coming around. Woods. Woods. Woods behind that tree limb, into the distance, into up the side of that mountain. There's a little bit of woods going on. So you can see how we're doing the... That's how it goes to get, like, again, this is all learning. If you get focused in on something and you want to play with it, get in there. Get into that drawing, wherever you want to get to. When you're getting to do drawings later, you can't focus as much sometimes on one area. Your technique, do whatever you want. But if you focus too much on one area and without bouncing around the rest of your drawing, sometimes a technique or something that's going on in the area, you can't recreate other places. So if you're doing a large piece, it's good to kind of bounce around it a little bit and define, work on a little area some, then go define another area so you can take that feeling with you from part to part of your overall drawing, and that way it has a balance and a coherence together. If you define this one area and you just work on this one little pattern going on over here the whole time, and then you're like, I'm going to do this branch tomorrow, you might not have the same flow. So it's good to bounce around the drawing some, and then when you have the whole thing with defined really good, then you can go back and do some detail work in places. Right? Look at that moonlight spilling down. So, we have mountains back there. Bob Ross gave me the great mountain. Like if I had a palette knife, I'd put it on there and scrape it down to make that mountain. We're going to make that a little bit by just bringing a line down in a way. Look at that beautiful moonlight. Ah, what a beautiful creature, the moon. What a beautiful creature, the moon. There might be some clouds floating by. I'm turning this slightly just so I can get this bottom line. That's the bottom of some clouds. And we'll give them some puffiness. Composition, it's happening. Look at us go. Bob Ross, two of my favorite drawers growing up, Bob Ross and Commander Mark, Secret City. Like everything I'm doing for you, they have already done for me over and over. Like anything, I just hope to be a conduit for their amazing wisdom to new people. They were so inspirational to me. All right, so we kind of have a composition here going on. We have it. We have the composition. I'm going to see what adding some cross-hatching in dark will do to this. I'm trying to emphasize that this is the brightest part of the drawing. This is where the light is right now. Like there's a little moonlight spilling down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add some very light shading, almost in blocks, to our sections here. We'll see what we get going on. These guys are almost silhouettes. So I'm just going to fill in all their area with what would be silhouette line. Just ignoring any other lines I have here, going over them. Just filling all of them in with these same lines going this direction. Because they are not lit at all. If they were smart, they would have no lights up there with them. No torch lights, no candle lights, nothing that those wizards down in that valley could see. And because of that, because the light is down here, they are silhouetted in a way. We see a little more detail. than we should, but that's just our artistic license. See, I'm just going in and adding these lines. And then also these branches are going to get the same lines because they're in the same distance, the same plane as our goblins in our composition. All my lines aren't great. Make your lines better than mine, my friends. Love those lines. Love that Joker. Good. All right, already that makes them pop a little different. Now, there's another level of darkness, which is everything beyond this firelight, like these trees. So I'm going to do lines going a slightly different way on all these trees. They're going to actually be a little closer together, like this. My pencil is becoming less sharp, giving me a softer lead right now in a way. You can still see these lines happening. That's a little sharper there. Filling it in, filling it in. Opposite of those other lines, so it looks like it's in a slightly different place. Firelight comes out to the edges here. It's kind of dancing around. Firelight comes up to these trees, kind of dancing around. Dancing around, just shading some of this, like it's darker back there, because that's not the trees where this firelight is hitting. Just laying some squiggles, some lines, as if that's firelight going in. So that looks like it's bright and kind of lighting up those trees. I think I did that all right. Yeah. You can spend hours just staring into the fire, wondering where you've gone wrong. No worries, adventurers. You're in the right place for these sorts of tales. Remember the one of the two wizards and the goblins. You don't want to hear that again. No, but you might, so we'll start a D&D adventure. I'm going to give this background some shading, because this is nighttime back here. So the brightest, most left untouched section is that campfire area, because that's where the brightest light is. So I think we did good there. I'm varying the width of these lines. These ones are a little closer together. These ones are a little farther apart, because that moonlight is coming in and actually hitting some of these sides of this mountains. But that one's a little closer together, just having some fun with it. Some cross-hatching there. Cross-hatching means the lines are almost parallel to each other. I'm coming in with just some cross-hatching. Not parallel, perpendicular. There we go. That's about it. That's an idea of a composition. I think, looking at this now on the screen, my lines, like, this might really pop with paint or with some colored pencils, or if I was a better drawer. Like, again, I'm learning here, but this was my idea. I wanted to show composition of a page. What's a story that's going on? These are closer to you, silhouetted. Like, we could even darken those even more, maybe, to make them really the silhouetted action. They could almost just go thick as you want, to be the closest thing, to be silhouetted like that. Right? But they're still there. You still see them almost by the outline of their line. You can emphasize here. This is all bright. We could even take an eraser and kind of brighten up some of these areas with the eraser, because like the light's popping out. The light of that moon is coming down and hitting the bottom of those clouds and the edge of that mountain a little bit, and that mountain over there. So Brightness is coming up. Brightness. By erasing those lines, we bring back the brightness. So that seems a little real. I like that. I like that. I think I achieved what I wanted to achieve in this one. Again, composition. The idea of you have a piece of paper. How are you going to fill that piece of paper? There's an owlbear over here. Oh man, now don't give me any crap for not remembering any guff for not remembering how to draw my owlbear, all right? Little ears. Owlbear mouth. Owlbear is here. Owlbear is here. Here he is. Here's his feet. Owlbear. There's his flappy wing owlbear arms. He's on the page. What's in the background? What's going on? We have a line here, which is the horizon. And almost from that perspective, we have some stones from there. Some stones sitting in the horizon. Some stones, like standing stones, around in a section. Some standing stones going around. That one's floating in the sky. And then in the distance here, maybe we have a mountain. There's a castle in the distance on that mountain. Composition of the page. Where are those elements placed? How do you make a scene out of that? Yeah, colored pencil might do. Yeah. Do you enjoy drawing? You know, I probably would enjoy drawing with colored pencils. I need to get back into it. Let's make that a thing, because I personally am not great at color and color combination choices together. Just like composition and real drawings, like I want to get better. Here we are. I'm pushing my boundaries. We'll bring colored pencils in. We'll work with color. We'll talk about color theory. Like, I think I'm going to wrap this. We're getting down to it. Well done, everybody. Well done. Cheers to you for being here, for Level Up with Louie. Learning about a little composition today, making a scene on a piece of paper. Cheers. Well, Geeky Bear, maybe I can talk with you at some point about color theory and how you can approach that and bring that to people. The idea, hello, Bromance. Hey, Bromance. Welcome. We're sorry, but we're just ending. This will be here on Twitch. It takes about 20 minutes sometimes for a video to pop up, and you can jump in and rewatch it. Hello, welcome. We're wrapping up this Level Up with Louie today. We did composition. In the future, we'll work with color theory. And I'm thinking about making like doing the season or something, like Level Up with Louie. The end of a season might be 15 episodes or so in a season, and then we'll work on like season 2 or something. Or I'm thinking about possibly doing like Level Up with Louie. All the drawing classes will remain with the same background color and the same look on the YouTube channel here. But I might also diverge into doing some computer work and some laser cut work and leveling up with Louie, learning different crafts and skills, and those might be different seasons. I'm still unsure how we're going to go into it, but right now, look forward to these drawing classes being every Wednesday at 3 o'clock this week, and maybe some weeks in the future. Things might shuffle, but I'll also be uploading everything to YouTube and seeing how that goes. Yeah, I like you guys being here too, and I really like you guys hanging out with each other and talking not behind the scenes, but talking over here in the chat and interacting with each other and giving each other advice and tips and help. We're all hanging out. Great you're here. I really, really appreciate it. You can look forward to these coming up on YouTube. Again, if you want to support this, always awkward to ask this because in a way I did go into this intending to have something where I'm like, hey, if you want to support me or the channel, go subscribe, go do this, go do that, go to the YouTube, of course. But I know how it feels to be asked or told to do that all the time. So no worries, in a way, too. No worries. You're here. LittlEmpire, Level Up with Louie, the YouTube channel. Click all those buttons if you want to. If you never want to interact with me and you just want to be someone who lurks from a distance, I got you. I got you, fam. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're here, too. My lurkers. Never to be known by any of us. But cheers to you.